Whoa, we've got some very cool stuff to review. Literally. This video is brought to you by AMD, Patriot, Antec, Gigabyte, and Progenics. Meet Sudokoo. No, it's not the puzzle app your aunt plays on her iPad. It's actually a brand new PC cooling company out of Singapore. And our friends over at Lunatech have sent over a bunch of their products for us to nerd out to. Today we're looking at their big boy, the Proteus 360. It's beefy, it's flashy, and it has a screen on it. Because apparently now your CPU needs its own Netflix subscription. Our test bench CPU for this review is our mighty 9950X, graciously sent over to us by AMD specifically to test out the millions of fans and coolers Lunatech supplied us with. I've decided that AMD now stands for awesome, magnificent dudes. Our motherboard is the Gigabyte Aorus Pro 870E, 32 gigs of Patriot Elite 5 DDR5 memory at 6000 megatransfers CL30, an Antec CSK Pro 1000 watt power supply, plenty of juice for our Proteus 360 to get drunk on, and a 1TB HikSemi NVMe Gen 4. The cooler comes in a colorful box wrapped in enough foam and plastic to survive a nuclear blast. Inside, you get a 360mm radiator with fans already attached. Love to see it. The chunky 3.4-inch LCD display. This is one solid piece of aluminium. I love the machining on here. The attention to detail is excellent. Mounting hardware for Intel and AMD, cable management clips, and of course the Sudokoo Proteus linker hub. Basically the brain that controls it all. It's like IKEA, but without the missing screws and relationship ending arguments. Installation is pretty straightforward. You need to remove the stock AMD mounting brackets and install the new mounting system provided. If you're not sure what you're doing, just refer to the manual, or Sudokoo's got an online guide for all you noobs out there. AMD users get the easy road. Pop it on, screw it down, done. Intel users, you may be in for a bit of a circus. I don't know, because we're on an AMD system today, but Godspeed to you. The block itself is magnetic with pogo pins for the display, so it clicks into place like Lego for adults. And yes, thermal paste comes pre-applied, saving you from the joy of smearing grey goop like you're icing a very expensive cupcake. We will be using the thermal grease that comes on the block because I want an out-of-the-box experience. Sudokoo didn't cheap out on these fans either. These are thick boys. 30mm instead of the usual 25. That extra 5mm might not sound like much, but in fan world, it's basically an extra inch.
Yeah, boy.
They spin from 500 RPM all the way to 2500, pushing 91 CFM of air across all three fans. Translation, they'll truck air through your radiator harder than a bathroom visit after a KFC zinger. They've got a 0 RPM mode, so when you're just watching YouTube or crying into Excel, the fans don't even spin. The radiator itself is a standard 27mm thick, but I do like the way Sudokoo have added to it for a very premium look, such as the metal plate here, the shrouding over the fans. It's just nice. Now, let's talk features. The main flex here is that massive 3.4-inch 480 by 480 pixel display. Most AIOs give you a block with their logo and spewing some RGBTQ all over the place. Not Sudokoo. They're clearly as OCD as us and have given us Nerdvana with all the stats you could want on your block. The block itself is made of aluminium. It looks and feels top quality. The radiator has a thin strip of RGB for that subtle aesthetic, and through their Mastercraft software you can display performance stats, temps, loads, frequencies, network usage, or just upload your own images, memes, GIFs, or even up to a 1-minute movie file of your mom's crush making dumb jokes on the interwebs. What kind of dog lives in a toilet? A poodle. Mastercraft splits into two parts, one section for RGB, fan and pump speeds, and the other for customizing the display. It ships in office mode, quiet and boring. Then there's silent mode for when the fans barely spin, so your PC is basically running a spa day. And finally, performance mode, where it goes full jet engine to keep your CPU from catching fire. If you're the type who wants full control, there's Pro mode, which basically says, okay nerd, have fun. As for the RGB, it's pretty stock standard. Just make sure you uninstall or disable any other software controlling RGB to avoid any conflicts. I would recommend setting the RGB to motherboard sync for this device. However, there are a few things I would have liked to have been implemented. And that is for the Mastercraft software to have a more driver level control over the fan speeds and custom curves built into it. Hold on boys, it's going to get a bit geeky for the next bit. As of right now, you need to set the custom curve for the fan header the cooler is connected to either in the BIOS or using your motherboard's fan control software, or by using a third-party app like Fan Control. Another thing that was a little frustrating is that when you set the device to use the custom curve, you can only apply it to either the fans or to the pump, not both. So if you set it to pump, the pump will speed up, but the fans won't, and vice versa. What I'd recommend is to set your pump speed to a static 2700 RPM and then set the radiator fans to adjust with the motherboard's set curve. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm talking gibberish. If you set the fan control to auto, the fans will ramp up and down according to temperatures, but the pump is set to 100% permanently, which is at 3600 RPM, and that can sound like a fat mosquito inside your case. When it comes to the display customization, man, nerd alert. Nerd! It's flippin' awesome. With 9 blocks that can display stats, want to show your upload and download data rate, easy peasy. You can choose a 1x2 block, a 2x1 block, a 2x2 block, all the way up to a 3x3 block, dropping in anything you want and customizing it to be to your liking. And for ultimate nerd status, you can even have a graph. Having such a fancy display on your AIO will use more resources than a normal RGB AIO. So what they've given you is what's called a Zen mode. It reduces the frequency of the updates using less cycles of your CPU. And if you want to go even more Zen, you can force Zen mode. It'll just show you the temperature and the time, nothing else. Another awesome feature is that you can have multiple profiles for different settings, whatever your mood desires. My personal favorite is to have your CPU temperature taking up most of the display, having the fan speed of the AIO, having your CPU load, CPU frequency, and your GPU load when necessary. And something super nerdy, but I kind of love, is being able to see your outgoing and incoming data rate on your network. Simply drag and drop, done. Want to display a 1-minute video loop of your favorite couch casting scene? Done. Kidding, don't do that. No, naughty. The fact that you can also rotate the block in any orientation that suits your build is so very awesome. I do, however, wish that it would rotate the display automatically. At present, you need to rotate it yourself in the software. Alright, numbers time. On the AMD AM5 platforms, this thing held its own, like a champ. It stayed quiet, under 38 decibels in most modes, and the temps were decently under control when throwing 200 watts at it, averaging around 42, 43 degrees at idle, and 71, 72 under full load using Cinebench R23. With the smoke test at idle speeds, you can see how the fans are barely pushing any air through the radiator, but enough to keep airflow going. When it came to pushing the Proteus to torture mode, it handled itself perfectly adequately. The 9950X did hit the 95C threshold, but the wattage stayed at around 275 watts at an all-core clock speed of 5.3 GHz. Not bad for the new kid on the block. Fan noise does get pretty loud at full load, but again, Cinebench is a torture test and will make most high-end CPUs and coolers weep. Under everyday working and gaming conditions, you are unlikely to ever experience it. One thing to note is they may get loud, but it's not that annoying mother-in-law nagging loud that hurts your brain and your soul. In the smoke test, you can see the Proteus dumping air faster than your ex dumped you when seeing the amount of unplayed games in your Steam library. So, $219, that's somewhat of a spicy meatball, but you're paying for performance and that massive LCD panel. If you want pure function, there are cheaper AIOs out there. But if you want your rig to cool, become a meme machine, and something to add to your Tinder profile as a flex, the Proteus 360 might just be the cooler for you. Cons, it can be a bit pricey, and the Mastercraft software, whilst robust, could do with some fan curve control instead of relying on the BIOS or your motherboard manufacturer's software running as well as the Mastercraft software. Bottom line, Sudokoo might be new, but they've come out swinging with a cooler that actually deserves attention. Plus, lets me nerd out hard to stats. and put images of my cats inside my PC. And honestly, that alone is worth the price of admission. Please hit that like button if you'd put cat pics on your cooler screen too, and subscribe for more tech things. See you soon, fellas, and the one girl who watches the channel. Okay, thanks, bye.